faithfully sharing value, exploring great books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, we'll be introducing Ancient Society. After Karl Marx passed away, Engels spent a lot of time helping to organize Marx's leftover manuscripts and notes. One day, he discovered that Marx had been researching prehistoric society before his death and had diligently made many notes. Among them, a work by American anthropologist Morgan was repeatedly mentioned, which is this ancient society. Engels highly praised it, saying that in discussing the primitive state of society, there's now a book like Darwin's Theory, just as decisive for biology. This is Morgan's Ancient Society. So, why were Marx and Engels so fascinated by this book, Ancient Society? The reason is that this is the first book to systematically propose the theory of human social evolution. In the book, Morgan presents the journey of human society from primitive to civilized. Studying the primitive state is tough because there are no written records. For a long time, restoring ancient life relied on orally passed myths and heroic legends. This includes Western Homer's epics, Chinese Pangu, creating the world, and so on. Morgan's exceptional insight was that he took a different path, finding a key to ancient society in Native American customs. To put it this way, Native Americans lived long on the isolated American continent with little outside contact, so they're like living fossils. Their customs bear marks of ancient systems. Tracing back reveals prehistoric society. Perhaps some wonder, why did Morgan think of this approach? Actually, it's tied to his experiences. Morgan was a famous 19th century American anthropologist, but he started as a lawyer. Coincidentally, early in his career, he faced the U.S. economic crisis. With few cases, in his free time, Morgan joined a society studying North American Native Americans. He visited their reservations often, lived with them, and was even adopted by a tribe. In 1871, Morgan met Darwin, author of On the Origin of Species, and fully embraced Darwin's evolutionary theory. He conceived writing a history of human social evolution. His life with Native Americans sparked research ideas, crystallizing into Ancient Society, first published in 1877. Ancient Society consists of four major parts. Based on solid empirical materials, Morgan demonstrates the evolutionary process of early human society from four perspectives: modes of production, political systems, marriage and family systems, and property systems. First, let's discuss the evolution of modes of production. As the saying goes, food is heaven for the people. This applies not only to, civilized people, but also to primitive humans in prehistoric societies. Early human production was largely tied to the problem of food. From the angle of production modes, especially how food was obtained, we can divide all of human society into stages. Specifically, human history can be divided into the savagery stage, the barbarism stage, and the civilization stage. Next, let's see how these three stages evolved. The childhood of human society is the savagery period, starting when humans learned to gather fruits and lasting until the invention of the bow and arrow. In this initial stage, humans had just evolved from animals. They had no knowledge or production skills, and without sharp teeth or claws, they relied on gathering fruits for survival. Gradually, humans not only picked fruits, but also started eating fish. But raw fish causes stomach issues, so cooking it became essential. So, if humans could eat fish regularly, it meant they'd also learn to use fire. People who knew how to fish gradually freed themselves from climate limits and could migrate along rivers. In the 19th century, similar lifestyles could still be seen in some tribes in Australia. Later, besides hunting with clubs, humans invented the bow and arrow, which was an epoch-making event. It not only boosted hunting efficiency, but also increased safety during hunts. The bow and arrow's emergence was like firearms' impact on modern society. It pushed human society forward another step. After long ages, humans gradually left the backward savagery stage and entered the barbarism period. This stage began with the invention of pottery technology and lasted until iron tools appeared. Why was pottery technology a watershed? Because before pottery emerged, humans already used materials like bamboo to weave containers, but pottery is a much sturdier container. It can store food, withstand high heat, and cook many things. Thus, pottery improved human living conditions and paved the way for settled life. The key to settled life is humans learning to cultivate crops and raise livestock, ensuring a stable food supply. Relying solely on hunting often meant an uncertain food supply, but with livestock and crops, humans overcame this challenge. In the Eastern Hemisphere, specifically Eurasia, due to vast plains suitable for grazing, people more often chose to raise cattle and sheep. In the Western Hemisphere, especially among Native Americans, lacking large domesticable animals, they cultivated corn with high starch content. Finally, with iron tools, the barbarism period ended, ushering in civilization. Like pottery, iron signified new mastery over fire. Iron shovels, axes, and hoes. These tools greatly improved farmland cultivation efficiency. Thenceforth, humans could sustain larger populations from limited land. Here, human society concluded the prehistoric era, survival stabilized, and abstract writing emerged. People learned to record history through writing. From this point, humans gradually left ancient society, entering a vibrant civilization period. That concludes the first part of ancient society. Morgan depicted humanity's evolutionary path from primitive to advanced stages through production modes. However, beyond survival, humans dedicated significant time to political activities. Thus, most of the book details prehistoric political organization, especially kinship-based societal structures. How did these bonds gradually disintegrate? This is the second part's focus: prehistoric political organization. Human societies developed two political models: the modern state or government in civilized societies, and the clan in ancient societies. States based on property and territory protect members' assets and safety. Clans, rooted in kinship, managed all aspects of members' lives, from birth to death. Now, let's examine how clans functioned. What rights and obligations did clan members have? What transformations did clans undergo? Evolution? What is a clan? Clan traces exist across the Americas, Asia, Europe, and Africa. It's one of the oldest and most widespread systems, particularly prevalent during the barbarism period. If all members in a group worship the same ancestor and unite through blood ties, that group is called a clan. Native Americans preserve this system most completely. In some southern Chinese villages, the so-called clan phenomenon exists as a remnant of ancient clan systems, often named after animals. And, for example, when Morgan interacted with Native American tribes, he found clans like Eagle Clan, Gray Wolf Clan, and Grizzly Bear Clan within one tribe. The fundamental difference between clans lies in their worship of different ancestors. Another feature of clans is that early members recognized only the mother as ancestor. Specifically, early clan members included a female ancestor, her children, and her female descendants' children, with lineage inherited matrilineally, elevating women's status. See, in civilized societies, including ancient China, children take fathers' surnames because mothers were considered outsiders. But in matrilineal societies, children take mothers' surnames, not fathers. Here, fathers became the outsiders. Patrilineal plans emerged later. Matrilineal systems existed not just in American Iroquois tribes, but are familiar to Chinese too. For instance, the Land of Women in Journey to the West, though exaggerated, originated from matrilineal societies. After introducing clan basics, let's examine members' rights and obligations. What political life did they lead? For clan members, the paramount right was participating in clan assemblies. In Native American tribes, each clan had an all-member assembly, the supreme authority. Gathered around bonfires as equals, they freely discussed clan affairs, with chief election being the most crucial agenda. As clan leader, the chief handled administration, commanded wars, and negotiated with other clans, but couldn't pass the position to sons. So, when a chief died, Native Americans would convene to elect another. Since clans elected leaders, removing them naturally followed. Although the chief is for life, if members find him incompetent and he loses trust, they can remove him through certain procedures. So, clan chiefs couldn't rule arbitrarily. Clan society was much more democratic than we imagine, and even Western democratic parliaments retain traces of clan assemblies. Of course, where there are rights, there are obligations. The most important obligation for clan members is mutual support. In civilized societies, the state acts as protector, with the government obligated to safeguard people's lives and property. But in ancient societies, since clans took on state functions, people relied on kin for strength. This means if a member faces life or economic difficulties, all members help them through. More importantly, violating one clan member is equivalent to violating the entire clan. Among Native Americans, if a clan member is killed, the whole clan is obligated to seek revenge, known as blood feud. Here we've clarified clan members' rights and obligations, but clans are just basic political units. If we see ancient society as a living organism, clans are like cells that can combine into new structures. In this combining process, blood ties weaken and clan assembly functions diminish. Next, we'll examine in detail how clans evolved into states. A family's population, if it grows, relatives become estranged, slowly turning into strangers. Similarly, for clans, with member mobility and family expansion, clans grow distant, and finally, only language binds them. Thus, clans speaking the same language combine to form tribes. At the tribal stage, the emergence of the chief council is most notable, serving as the tribe's highest authority. Chiefs represent their clans to jointly discuss tribal matters, for instance, whether to war with other tribes, admit new clans, or select the tribal leader, but never equate this great leader with a king. The great leader has no absolute rights and can be easily removed. The chief council resembles modern representative democracy. The great leader is merely a council speaker. Clan society's democratic principles remain intact here, and tribes can unite to form a higher organization, the confederacy. When neighboring tribes share territories, they realize uniting against external threats brings greater benefits than infighting. Once recognizing this advantage, they combine into a confederacy. In other words, confederacy members now consider political issues from an interest perspective. But once a confederacy emerges in a region, civilization is near. At the confederacy stage, a new phenomenon arises. For warfare efficiency, beyond existing chiefs, they established a war commander, separating civil and military roles. Everyone knows changing commanders mid-battle invites defeat. War-frequent confederacies avoid replacing military leaders who gradually seize supreme power. Clan democracy fades. Henceforth, autocratic kings evolved from military commanders, the prototype of civilized governments. All right, let's recap key points from Part 2 of Ancient Society. Prehistoric political systems evolved from clans to tribes, then to confederacies. As clans developed into confederacies, blood ties weakened, replaced by language, territory, and interests. Simultaneously, democratic evolution diluted, shifting from direct to representative democracy. Finally, military chiefs seized power at the confederacy stage, ushering in civilization where states replaced clans, shifting foundations from kinship to property and territory. Here, we've clarified the evolution of clan political structures. But since clans functioned as extended families, Morgan asked, what family system? And supported clan society? Was it monogamy, familiar today? Did family systems undergo significant changes alongside clan development? These inquiries form Part 3 of Ancient Society. Part 3's content, marriage and family systems, Today, monogamy seems the most natural family form. Even in ancient Greece, philosopher Aristotle thought a family could be made with one man, one woman, and a few slaves helping out. But Morgan argued that this family form is actually a product of historical development. In the much longer prehistoric period, human societies had all sorts of marriage and family systems. Changes in marriage and family went three stages. First, consanguine marriage, then group marriage. Later came pairing marriage, and finally developed into monogamous marriage. The big trend was from unfixed forms like polygamy to the fixed form of monogamy. In the savagery stage of human society, marrying one's siblings was common. This is consanguine marriage, where blood related siblings married each other in a collective living arrangement. Every man was husband to all women, and every woman was wife to all men. Sounds unbelievable, since religions and ethics in various civilizations forbid incest. So, how did Morgan infer this marriage pattern existed? Turns out he found clues from the kinship systems of native Hawaiians and Indians. And in these groups, parents included not only biological parents, but also parents, siblings, and children. And children included not only one's own, but also siblings' children treated as their own. All people of the same generation were considered siblings, showing an ancient marriage pattern where blood related peers married directly. Ever wondered why Chinese call father's brother Shufu, mother's brother Jifu, and siblings' children Ji or Jinu? These terms are actually remnants of consanguine marriage systems. But over time, the drawbacks of close kin marriage became more obvious. This drawback wasn't about modern biological issues like genetic diseases. Ancient people didn't know and couldn't know that the problem was failing to bring new survival skills or technologies to the family. Therefore, people found ways to exclude close kin from marriage partners, leading to group marriage. Under this system, marriage wasn't strictly monogamous. Besides banning close kin marriage, marriage and divorce were quite free. In some ethnic minorities in Yunnan, China, this custom can still be seen today. And for example, among the Mosuo people in Yunnan, young men and women meet through singing and dancing at gatherings. A man can invite a woman he likes for a date and stay at her home at night, but must leave by dawn. The only bond between them is affection. If feelings fade, they freely separate. This system is called walking marriage, essentially group marriage, an innovation evolving from consanguine marriage. It distinguished marriageable and non-marriageable groups, incidentally creating matrilineal clan societies. The aforementioned Mosuo people in Yunnan are a matrilineal society. Group marriage promotes marrying outside the family, avoiding close kin unions. The collective living arrangement made paternity uncertain while maternity was clear, leading to matrilineal inheritance. And later, human society shifted to the small family model of one man and one woman. This is pairing marriage. As the name suggests, pairing marriage involves one couple living together and having children, but with loose bonds and no strict cohabitation obligations. Incompatibility ends the union. Why was marriage replaced by the monogamous model? First, it relates to clans' flourishing development. As clans expanded, prohibiting close kin marriage reduced available partners. Secondly, some men acquired wives through capture or purchase from other tribes. Thus, marriage became an investment not easily shared. In human history, pairing marriage was transitional, evolving into familiar monogamy during late barbarism. That is, this marriage consists solely of one man and one woman. The husband gained domestic dominance, exclusively cohabiting with his wife while strictly demanding her chastity. Thus, Morgan termed it monogamy, meaning exclusive spouses. Monogamy's defining feature is male domination. We know family in English derives from a Latin root. The Romans used this Latin term to refer to slaves or servants, showing the Western concept of family wasn't primarily about blood ties. It emphasized a labor group under a patriarch's control, maintaining family property. Rome's 12 Tables law explicitly granted the patriarch absolute power, life, death, authority over children, and control of all household property. To keep wealth within the family, men needed absolute certainty of biological paternity. Hence, strict demands for female chastity, absolutely forbidding adultery. As male authority solidified, humanity left prehistoric society behind, entering the civilized era. Let's recap part three's content. Morgan argued that ancient marriage systems evolved from consanguine marriage to monogamy. Specifically, marriage partners shifted from relatives to strangers. Then cohabitation evolved from multiple partners to strict monogamy. Finally, paternity confirmation progressed from group marriage's uncertainty to monogamy's precise identification. But Morgan wasn't satisfied. He kept asking what drove these changes. His answer, property. Thus, part four of Ancient Society focuses on evolving property concepts. Property means life-sustaining products. Changing views, especially inheritance methods, drove civilization's evolution. Morgan said prehistoric humans had three inheritance methods. First, equal division among all community members. Second, distribution only to blood relatives. Third, inheritance exclusively for biological children. Behind these changes lay prehistoric properties, communal ownership, gradually evolving into civilized private property. In the savagery stage, humans survived by gathering and hunting. Products were immediately consumed with no accumulation. Primitive weapons required collective hunting. Thus, people owned little. Any surplus belonged collectively. Private property concepts were absent. Even deceased individuals' possessions were distributed to all members. Just like in the animal kingdom, lions hunt collectively and share the spoils equally. No lion hoards extra meat. Once humans learned to raise livestock and grow crops, labor products increased. Advancements in weaponry, especially the bow and arrow, freed individuals from collective labor, enabling solo hunting. Thus, private property grew, bringing inheritance issues to the forefront. During the barbarism period, communal ownership remained dominant. Land, tools, and grain were collective property. Even inheritance was distributed to all members. Though dissatisfaction grew, thus, inheritance rights narrowed. Only blood relatives of the deceased could inherit. Regardless, collective ownership persisted through savagery and barbarism, a primitive communism. By late barbarism, humans solved food scarcity, achieving surplus and activating trade. Some gained wealth solely through trade, creating wealth disparity and cementing private property desires in inheritance practices. Now, inheritance excluded the extended family. Only biological children representing life continuity qualified. Ancient codes like Solon's laws, Rome's 12 Tables, and Hammurabi's code formalized this. Thus, civilization arrived hand in hand with private property. With this, our introduction to ancient society concludes. Morgan depicted human society evolving from primitive to advanced stages, labor skills improving, politics shedding kinship influences. Families trended toward monogamy, property systems advanced toward privatization. This is the core of Morgan's social evolution theory. After publication, ancient society had two major impacts. First, in anthropology, Morgan's deep familiarity with Native American tribes enabled systematic kinship classification, paving the way for future research. The other significant impact mentioned earlier was inspiring Marx and Engels. Morgan's understanding of human civilization aligns perfectly with Marx's historical materialism, and Engels' The Origin of the Family, Private Property, and the State was actually inspired by Ancient Society, and Ancient Society is regarded as a classic by Marxists and is widely studied. Okay, that wraps up our interpretation of Ancient Society for you. Reading notes are below the audio. We'll see you tomorrow.